welcome to the Rankin County Board of Supervisors, July 15th, 2019 meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order. I ask Craig Slade, would you say a prayer for us, Craig?
Father, you are so good to us, and we thank you. Lord, we just want to stop right now and say thank you, Lord, for sparing us from the worst of this weather. I pray, Father, that you'll continue to oversee our emergency operations guys as they're out there dealing with this weather situation. Father, I pray for safety of our guys, of the public, of our law enforcement officers. Father, I just pray that your hand of protection be upon them. Lord, give us discernment to know precisely what we need to do with the limited resources that we have. Help these guys, Lord, as they commit themselves, their lives, Father, the sacrifices that they make for the betterment of our community. I pray, Father, for your richest blessings to be poured out on them. Help us today, Father, as we participate in our government. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. All right. Right out of the chute, we have a very distinguished guest with us.
Is that Bishop?
And we have
and
we have Jay Bishop.
Right on time there, huh?
Senator Clark, could you come forward? I'm going to read a little bio about Mr. Clark. His name is Eugene S. Buck Clark. He represents District 20. Well, he's been representing District 22 for 16 years. He's been the chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee for the past 8 years. He's a resident of Hollandale, practiced public accounting as a CPA for 40 years. He's a graduate of Mississippi State University. He's a Rotary Club member, song leader at Hollandale First United Methodist Church, Eagle Scout, Silver Beaver, and Scoutmaster for 25 years. He's married to the former Paula Watkins of West Point for 40 years. Has 3 children, 4 grandchildren. Currently a candidate for our state treasurer's office. Thank you, sir. Go ahead and tell us a little more.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to y'all today. As you mentioned, I represent Senate District 22. Those counties are Bolivar, Washington, Sharkey, Humphreys, Yazoo, and even Madison. So my Senate district touches Rankin County, believe it or not. It's almost from the Missouri border to the Gulf of Mexico is what we feel like sometimes. And I'd ask y'all to please keep, part of my district is underwater. That's southern part of Sharkey County and Yazoo. There's 500,000 acres still underwater because of the storm right now. It's severely affecting our area again. They had to close the steel bow gates again. They opened them one day, I think, this week, and they had to close them back because of the elevation of the river higher than the water in the delta, or it would back water in there again. And so they closed the gates, and now we've got another 20 inches of rain piling on top of it. So farmers, a lot of people are losing their businesses, and again, and the wildlife destruction is unbelievable in the delta. So. Keep those folks in your prayers. It's going to be a long time coming out from under that. As the President mentioned, been the appropriations chairman for the last 8 years, and a couple things I just want to say quickly about what we've done recently on appropriations at the state level. First is, funny we're talking about the rainy day fund here on a day it's raining like this, but the rainy day fund will be filled for the state of Mississippi at the highest level in the history of the state. It'll go over $500 million this coming year because we just ended our fiscal year with an unprecedented $310 million over our estimate. In other words, we get the revenue estimate from the state economist, and because of economies like what you have in Rankin County, you're putting more tax dollars than we ever predicted. So that's just a wonderful thing. And that'll alleviate in the future. You know we'll have a downturn at some point. And that will lessen. We won't even have to make cuts maybe like the cuts we had to make 3 years ago, which were painful, but we've brought it back from there. Another important thing we did this year, the first item we took care of in the budget that affects even local government is with the retirement system. As you know, the board, the retirement system voted to increase the level of funding with PERS. And, the actuaries give us the number. I always like to say, what is an actuary? It's an accountant that doesn't have a personality. That's what that is. But anyway, they increased their level of funding. And what it amounts to, it's at a projected level to get to 100% of funding by 2047, whereas 80% has been the target. And that cost us $62 million out of the general fund this year, and then $38 million came from special funds and from you folks, from all the local governments had to put in that other $38 million. So it's $100 million new money going into the retirement fund. And while that's important, you have states like Illinois and California that are essentially insolvent because they will never pay their pension liability. They're so far behind, they know they'll never pay it. And Mississippi is at a level about 65% right now. And again, with this target, we're going to get in better shape. And what that means is between the rainy day fund at a high level, we show those bond rating agencies that look at the financial stability of the state. They see the rainy day fund, they see what we've done with our retirement system, and then they look at that we don't have any one-time monies in the budget, that we pay recurring expenses with recurring revenues, and that increases our rating with these people. And what that means is a lower interest cost we pay on state debt, which saves millions of dollars going down the road, and it just puts Mississippi in a stronger financial position. And that's what I'm proud of that we've done in the last 8 years, because 8 years ago it was not like that. And I would just say that is where we are right now. I've been interested in looking at your agenda here as fellow appropriators. I know what you have to go through in allocating your resources the best you can. Again, I appreciate one other comment I want to make about PERS that's important. The state treasurer serves on the PERS board. In addition to tending to the state's money investing, tending to the state's debt and the prepaid college plan and so forth, serving on several boards and commissions are part of the duties of the state treasurer, and serving on PERS, in my opinion, is probably the top one. And so I'll take that very seriously and take my experience and knowledge I have as a 40-year CPA to do my best ability to take care of PERS and the promises we've made to all the retirees in the state. I thank you all for the opportunity for this Delta guy to come and talk to you good folks in Rankin County, a lot of friends here. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you've got any questions.
I do, actually. I hope when you get elected that you don't increase our participation anymore in PERS. 17% is a lot.
I agree. Look, let me say before I agreed to that, can't tell you how many times I grilled the head of the PERS, the executive director, the former executive director, the new executive director, and 2 or 3 of the board members, the board president even, got them in my office and grilled them as the need to this, because it's getting to be, like you say, 17% at the employer side and still the 9% at the employee side. We're putting a lot of taxpayers' dollars into that retirement system, and it's a Cadillac position,
Well, something's going to have to give. Employees, we hire new employees, we don't pay them that much money. Granted, we have a good insurance policy, but them giving up 10% of their pay right out the gate is tough. But just this increase alone is going to hit the county, I think, about $400,000 this year.
Right.
That we got to come up with that somewhere,
Well, another thing that it probably affects y'all the same way it's affected the state, I found it affected us really all the agencies that came to see me this year have the same problem as far as hiring new personnel, especially when you're hiring millennials, 20-something, 30-year-olds. They're not, you tell them, look, we got great benefits. We've got a defined benefit plan. They don't care about hearing that. They're looking for market rate salaries because they're comparing what they can get in the private sector. And so I've asked PERS and our personnel board to, if the defined benefit plan is so wonderful, what is the difference? What's the dollar value of that? So you can sell that to employees that, yeah, we're going to pay you 90% of market, but you've got a retirement plan that is superior to anything offered in the private sector. And so you've got to put that together. But if we're on a 100% funding level, I make this argument also. Instead of the 80%, maybe we can look more toward other type defined contribution plans at the state level and everywhere, and that would help y'all with predictability in your budget. Thank you. That's a good question.
But other than that unattractive coat I saw in the commercial, I knew there was a reason I liked it. That's your involvement in scouts. I'm involved
Thanks,
on the
sir.
current level with the board now, so glad to see you.
If it'd been a little cooler today, I might have worn that coat down here. 'Cause it can shed some water too. I tell you that.
Good luck with it.
Well, thank y'all.
you.
Again, thank y'all for appreciating the opportunity to talk to y'all.
Thank you for coming to Rankin County and giving us this information, and we wish you well. All right. We go to old business. We have
Motion to approve
minutes.
July 1 minutes.
Second.
All right, Bob makes a motion to approve, Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve consent.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Bob, second by Daniel. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Ms. Fortenberry, she's not here.
Motion to approve Ms.
Second.
Fortenberry's published notice for the tax sale on August 26th.
Yeah, second.
All right, we have a motion by Bob, second by Daniel. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. John Sullivan,
Motion to approve.
keep on going.
Yeah, second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by, did you do it? or-
Bob.
Bob, okay. Motion to approve by Bob, second by Daniel. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mike Harrison.
I'll let you come on up since I know Daniel's going to beat you up about this at some point.
I'm just gonna plug my ears and pretend like I don't even hear it. So,
Got 2 permits, like take A and B, request ceasefire utility permits to be done. Basically, we had a good meeting with ceasefire the other day. I think we've got that a little better handled, so, on that. So I feel good about the meeting we had the other day. Me and Craig did with them, so
all right.
we'll try it, see what happens.
Yeah, let's see.
So, Luckney and Baker's a long way apart from each other. They gonna,
They're gonna be on Luckney Road and they're gonna be on Baker.
okay, all right.
Are you talking about on both of them?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm kinda like Jay, I thought it was,
And you
It's,
said North
it's just the way they
Shore.
submit
Well,
them.
you-
They-
same way you
you
got
said between.
North Shore to Sand Hill. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. See, they fixing to run some wire.
but it's just, it's different things
Okay.
broke
Okay.
up. We just don't list everything on it.
All right, I make most approved.
my stomach hurts, but I guess
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Jay to approve, second by Daniel. Discussion. Mike,
Yes, sir.
before they get out of the county, I'd like to, and I know it's not gonna be quick, but I'd like to look and see the areas that they are not going.
Okay.
We give them, the gravy, but there are people that live just down the road or on the next little street. If we maybe look at some of those and massage them. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Yeah.
We had a motion, Jay, second, Daniel. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Oh, I guess, we voted for A. I guess we did A.
Combine
I
them
think
both.
we put them together.
Morning, Mr. Parker.
Morning, gentlemen. I have 3 items on the agenda. The first one is Coventry Part 2. I'm recommending approval of the final plat and a letter of credit in the amount of $39,327.02.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Bob makes a motion, Jay seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Second item that I have on the agenda is a Spillway Road / North Shore Parkway widening project. Recommending approval of pay request number 1 in the amount of $122,636.65 to Hempfield Construction Company, Inc., and requesting authority to issue that check.
Hey, I'll make that motion. I just want to. Our total thing in this game is what, 400,000,
Yes,
300,
350.
350, somewhere in there. It's less than 400,000. This is the first installment of that.
yes, sir.
Do you got some time frames? I know Chris sent me an email last week, just kind of give me an update on everything on that. But do you have time parameters on anything, or just I'll follow up with Chris later?
Yes, sir.
All right.
That'd be the best thing.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Daniel, second by Jay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. The third and last item I have on the agenda is Oak Grove Drainage Improvements Project. Recommend approval of pay request number 2 in the amount of $108,154.92 to Hemp Hill Construction Company and requesting authority to issue that check.
Motion approved.
Second.
We got a motion by Jay, split. So I'm gonna go with one closest to me. Second will be Jared. Any other discussion?
Yeah. There was nobody out there working at all last week, and it's embarrassing to find that out after the fact. So going forward, I'd like to be updated weekly, Friday or on Monday, as to what went on, who was there, if anybody. But also, I think they're finished with Oak Road Drive, and they still have barrels out in people's yards. I would like all those removed, please.
Okay. We'll take care of that. And you want a weekly report?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want somebody calling me over the weekend saying, there was nobody here and they not have a clue about it. And I don't really have time to go by there every day to check on it, so.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
Is this the same project where we're lining the pipes now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a headache, hasn't it?
Just
Yes,
at
sir.
least.
Part what it is, though. You gotta dig that hole, start to get it in there.
Yeah, it's a problem type project, no question about that.
I mean, just as a review in my mind, how much? I mean, maybe Mr. Buster, take me back and just remind me what we'd already paid. What we'd already paid, $800,000 in a $1.3 million deal. So this is just. Can you refresh me on the numbers of it on the Oak Grove side of everything?
I can get that to you. I don't have that readily available with me as far as.
Because the latest issue that came back up was something wasn't right and what we thought was right. I guess when we called the bond, we thought certain things had been
Right.
done, and then now we come to find out that those certain things we thought had been done hadn't been done. Lining of the pipe, that type of
The
stuff.
lining wasn't part of
The,
it.
the pipe that had been installed
Right.
was presumed to have been installed correctly.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was discovered after the second contract.
All right, so let me stop you right there. Who inspects that? I'm all in ignorance, I guess is my question. Is that us, or is that the contractor that we fired?
It's part and parcel. The inspection process is set forth in our development ordinance, what we normally do,
Right.
Right.
which is install, bid, we come, look, take fabrics in place.
All right, so stop right there.
Clear them
So part of the issue that got us to the point where we were at was we were supposed to be inspecting that in order to be sure the pipe was down. Is that right?
The contractor's engineer is also supposed to be inspecting that and certifying as to it.
So when we got to the point when we were firing the contractor, we should have inspected the pipe to know that the pipe wasn't put down properly. Is that
I
right?
think at that point, Daniel, it's already been covered.
Covered.
Yeah,
It's already
but we should have looked at it before it was covered. Wasn't that part of our ordinance?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, see, this is not subdivision development activity.
Right.
This is a,
Who oversees that? I guess for us. I mean, I don't. Is
I
that
think he's
is that you
saying-
guys? Do y'all have an assignment, or do they have a person that reports back to y'all? How does that work?
Well, we have some overview on it, but as far as the inspections, we depend on the engineer
Okay.
for the developer, for the contractor, whatever the case may be, to inspect it and let us know that it's up to the quality that it's supposed to be. But now, we can adjust that any way you want to adjust it.
Well, I guess my question is, missing that pipe not being put in the ground is costing us what? You know, Jay?
200 something.
250,000.
a couple
Yeah.
of thousand.
So
Yeah.
$250,000 oversight on our part for not getting it right. Right?
Well, but like you said, though, once it's covered,
No, but our
Okay.
discuss. I mean, but part of the game was to know it before it's covered up. I mean, that's part
that's
of
what
the.
you had to go with their engineer, the contractor's engineer.
All right.
Right.
If you want to put
That's correct.
one of our inspectors out there, that would be, I'm sure, additional cost. It would may have saved $250,000.
You got us on this deal.
Well, I thought we had an inspector on every job, but we don't.
Do we not?
No, sir.
Mr. Buster, we don't have inspectors on every job?
No, sir. Now, we do some inspection, but as far as full-time round the clock, no.
That gets expensive.
Most of the,
This got us to 250.
yeah, most of the work most of what's inspected is typically it's quantities. We make sure that the amount of pipe that's supposed to be on the project has been ordered, is on site, we counted it, we've seen it, now it's in the ground.
I guess not putting pipe in the ground would be, in my mind, my own ignorant side, should be an easy thing to catch, I would think. That they didn't install a pipe in the ground, if that was the issue. But
Well, that's not what happened.
Okay.
The issue is, as I appreciate it, is the joints.
Right.
That's
and
correct.
to understand that what Hemphill camera was everything that had been installed. All of that had not failed.
okay,
The decision was made on the safe side because they said, I don't ever want to go back to Oak Grove on those pipes.
yeah.
And I certainly understand that, to line all of them, because that creates a continuous liner through those pipes.
Wait a minute, Tim, I was told, I ain't talked to Chris about this, the contractor's one told me that Chris had said that either we had to line it or take it all out and put it back in.
No, that's certainly not how I understood that. There was 3 gaskets on some big pipe that had rolled out that the video showed, but no, video.
You may have taken all of that out.
All the joints, not bad, every joint of pipe was not bad.
No,
You might have had to take all of that out, but not the whole line.
Well, I
Take it
remember
out.
the conversation Jay was talking about.
I do
We had
too.
the discussion, even
Which
had to
got
take
us
it all
down
out
that
and
road.
put the line it.
Right.
And it was just an obvious, we
Yeah.
line it, you know,
Right.
that was the discussion. But
You know,
Our experience has been not so hot if we just piecemeal certain problem joints. You never get ahead of it.
I guess my question, my overall question on the whole deal, here's another $100,000 we're putting to it, which should take us to maybe $1 million, or somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million. What's our cap on it?
well, actually, the bond company ended up giving us the additional funds. You know, we bid it out,
Yeah.
or they bid it out, and they went with the lowest bidder, which was Hemphill, and it still came in over several $100,000 over what the initial project was.
Yeah.
But granted, we're about to pay additional $250 on top of that.
yes.
So
Right.
we're gonna pay the 1.3 plus another $250.
We're still in the bonding company's money right now, but by the time we get that project lined, we'll be out of
We'll
that
be out
money
of
and
it.
into our own money to about 200.
I guess that's what's got
I
me
don't re-
confused on the.
We have some of the original contract money too, that's changed. So
Yes.
it's not a full 250.
Oh, you got,
I don't remember the number.
I
okay.
don't either.
Well,
I
we
know
were at
for a
about
fact 81,000.
400 and something, nearly 500,000 when we got rid of it. Because we were at some, like 800 and something, and we had approved it for like 1.3 million. So there was that
Yeah.
buffer, if my memory's right, that,
Yes.
Correct.
okay. And then we got some monies back from the bond.
And the retainings that was being held on the contract, right?
Yeah.
Is still, and I remember that.
I guess
I don't
is
either.
it
Still
it
a
possible to get some type of email sent to us or to me, maybe just kind of give me a rough overall narrative of where it's at? I mean, just
Yes,
just
sir.
a breakdown of this is the money, this is where we're at, this is what we're spending. I mean, because it's just got all confused in my mind. I guess I'm not
No
paying attention
problem.
as sharp as I should be.
We'll get that to you.
All right, thank you.
Well, I really don't want us to come up. I know the contract is through September, the end of September. With us having this delay here, you know, I don't want to have to do a damn extension on this. You know, so, anyway, I'm just sick of it.
All right,
Once they start once they start lining that, Jay, most of the time after they dig depends on how many spots they have to enter, they dig most of the time they dig an initial pit,
I don't think they're digging anything.
huh?
They're not supposed to dig anything.
Well, how are they gonna get the
All
liner
the
in
holes
there?
are still out there.
Huh?
All the holes for the
Oh,
inlets are still out there.
okay, well,
They
there,
got to build
okay.
the inlets where the pipe.
Okay,
Right.
so they gotta have a way to get
I
into the
still got
pipe.
people's driveways, they pull off a little bit, their car's gone,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
got you, okay.
all right, we've got a motion and a second. That was under discussion. We had, Jay, you made a motion,
I
and I
did.
think Daniel seconded, and then we had the discussion. All in favor of making this payment? Aye.
Said
Sounded
that
painful
painfully,
down
Bob.
It was painful. It's always painful when Oak Grove's
All right.
involved in it.
All right. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, I make a motion, we consolidate under Mr. Slade's thing, A, B, and C for an August 1st, public hearings.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Mr.
A through
Slay, are
D?
you okay with
what
putting
you
those
said,
three
Bob?
together?
Not D, D's on the 5th, so I can't do D.
A, B, and
A, B,
C.
and C.
A, B, and C.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
well,
I'm all right with putting them together,
I'm
but
okay with it too, but
These are public hearings for nuisance considerations.
you're just setting them.
Just setting from hearing, August 1, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, because I would, just so later, Renee and Dwayne, I'd like to talk to y'all about B a little bit. Just some things I know. Add to that.
I don't remember seeing a little presentation on these three. Did we?
That'll be coming on the planning meeting on
We
the
did?
1st. No, we will,
Will
August
be.
the 1st. This is just setting the date. Because we're going to notice them that they're supposed to be at a hearing on August the 1st.
all right, do I have a motion to set A, B, and C?
Wait a minute, that is kind of backwards, though, isn't it?
Bob made that motion.
No, I'm just
Is this
trying
how
to
we
get
always
the
do it?
public, yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the date set.
yeah, I got that.
All right,
I second it.
all right, well, Bob made the motion, Jared seconds it, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. These are set
Hey, what about
August 1st.
what about the one on, end of, East Tucker, East Mountain Creek?
We're going to have that for a review that day with
Okay.
some prices and
Okay.
see what y'all want to do, how y'all want to handle that.
Right, okay.
There'll be several.
I just
done
want to
that
make
way.
sure it wasn't slipping through. Okay, good.
Several done that way?
Yes, sir. Several. Kenneth Wells would be one on Pearson.
These are
It's
old
been-
ones.
No,
You
I
know.
just, I understand it.
Yeah,
She said there's going to be several we had the option of paying for. That kind of
a couple.
sparked my interest there.
Mr. President, item D is to set a public hearing for August 5th at 9 o'clock for the Shane Roberts conditional use permit. It's a District 2 property. Just to set it for public hearing on the
Yeah,
5th.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, Daniel makes a motion to set it for the 5th. Jay seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. President, item E is a public hearing on the Michelle Tuller conditional use permit, 100 Castle Woods Boulevard, it's District 2. Ms. Tuller is with One Hope LLC, it's the entity, seeking a conditional use permit to operate an adult daycare in an existing building at 100 Castle Woods Boulevard. One Hope LLC is certified as a Medicaid waiver provider for adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities. Maximum number of adults in the daycare program will be 35 to 40. Proposed hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's a 1.40 acre property that is zoned R1B. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Michelle Tuller One Hope LLC conditional use request. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Okay. Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter unless the board has questions of is Ms. Tuller present? Okay, thank you. Unless the board has questions of the applicant, it would be appropriate to go ahead and close that hearing. Do we have any questions?
I don't.
I just
Okay.
have one comment. I want to say thank you for doing this.
Same here.
We've been needing one in Rankin County for a long time.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. So
Okay.
I'll make that motion to approve.
adult daycare.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed.
Right. And for the record, that hearing is closed. Thank you. All right. Mr. President, item F is a discussion and potential action to adopt an ordinance that establishes a permit requirement for public demonstrations or events to be held on property owned or controlled by Rankin County. Ms. Janice, they have a copy of that in their packet. Do you know?
I have some.
Okay. All right. You have a copy before you.
Motion approved.
Wait. Where's the pitfalls in here you see potentially coming?
Well,
back?
obviously, anytime you get into issues that have the potential for a constitutional argument impact, a free speech type of argument.
Freedom of assembly?
Bob, yes. You're going to have to be very careful about the language that is used with respect to the ordinance.
You and Holly, y'all work together on this, right?
Paul
Yeah.
and Richard Lawrence and I, and the sheriff obviously has been actively involved as well. And so the idea here is
Legal mind.
not to put us in a position where it's perceived as if we are creating unnecessary impediments. As we discussed previously, the rule of thumb is this: the government in effecting regulations that can impact what are our guaranteed fundamental rights under the Constitution must be very careful to establish an important governmental purpose for the regulation. What the purposes as established in this ordinance would be for public safety and the preservation or protection of property, the governmental property, which is public property, and retaining some measure of free access for those who would not be participating in an event or a demonstration. They're just trying to get to a county building in order to effectively utilize government services, right? So there's a competing dynamic that can come into play in these situations. And so this only applies to facilities that are owned or controlled by the county. Just make that clear on the front end. If it's not owned or controlled by the county, we're not regulating some sort of demonstration there. If they want to go down to City Hall, that's not a county building, knock yourself out. If they want to demonstrate or have an event on county owned or controlled property, then there is now a process that effectively regulates time, place, and manner. Not content, time, place, and manner. So this is a time, place, and manner restriction that is designed to promote an important governmental interest, public safety. So let's walk through the regulation. It's essentially, the first part of it is what I just said, basically. There's an important.
Hard copy?
Yeah, I think Janice put
got
that
one there,
before
Lee.
you.
You got one.
Right under-
Right there.
Okay. So section 1 is the purpose of it. That's to clearly indicate what the important governmental purpose behind the regulation is. Number 2 is a demonstration section that helps to explain what words used in the other parts of the ordinance actually mean, so that contextually it's understood. You can see, I'll point out a couple of those. An event is referred to as a demonstration or special event, or to demonstrations and special events collectively. And then events is controlled elsewhere. The words open burning, open fire, open flame, those are all defined here, and what is prohibited in a later section of the ordinance is anything where you've got an open fire, an open flame. That's a public safety issue. Prohibited items section under the definitions, and obviously weapons. And then you can see all sort, and there was a good bit of discussion about what all sorts of things needed to be banned in terms of being used or carried or displayed or otherwise worn, that type of thing at a demonstration. So BB guns, pellet guns, air rifles, pistols, paintball guns, anything that you can think of, essentially, that would create mischief, that could create injury, that kind of thing. So that's what that section has to do with. Section 3 is the meat and potatoes of this. You are, in essence, creating a regulation that says if you're going to do a demonstration, if you're going to have a public demonstration or an event on county-owned or controlled property, you got to request and receive a permit to do it. Okay? So that's what that section is right there. So the process is get a permit. You got to let us know 30 days ahead of time so we can process all of this and make preparation for it. So this gives the county an opportunity to assess what is going to happen and make preparation for it. There's an insurance requirement. Whoever is responsible, the sponsor of the event, is required to produce an insurance certificate where the county is delineated as an additional insured under that policy, and that section controls that. Section 5 is the violation section, which essentially says if you violate any term or provision of the ordinance during the conduct of the event, then there is a potential fine and potential jail time for anybody that's found to be in violation. And then there's a number of activities that would constitute a violation. I'll pick a few out here. Sponsoring an event for which a permit is required without obtaining a permit. That makes sense. Intentionally providing false, misleading, incomplete information on the permit application. That makes sense. Rendering any part of our venues dangerous, unsafe, or unsuitable for use by others. If they blocking the sidewalk so that folks can't get to the tax assessor's office, which is very important to us, right, John? So we want to make sure that as a part of this, we keep our buildings safe and available for folks who are not participating in the event. So that's what part of this. Throwing or propelling objects of a potentially dangerous nature during an event, including rocks, bottles, sticks. That's no reference to anybody in Hinds County. Staffs, glass objects, or cans. Engaging in a course of conduct or committing any act that endangers the public welfare or safety of others at the event. And so that's just a little bit of a taste about this. Now, what's left to do after you guys deliberate about whether or not you want to use an ordinance like this to provide for some measure of a logistical approach to controlling these things. There needs to be developed a permit application itself. And that's not a part of this at the moment. That would have to be developed. So the first step would be create the ordinance, which is the regulation, and then you would turn it over. And as you can see in here, your county administrator is responsible for receiving applications, evaluating, obviously in conjunction with the sheriff, about whether or not a permit should be provided, issued, and then securing all of the appropriate information that's called for under the ordinance. Does that make sense? That application is not ready to give to you yet. That needs to be developed. So I have forms that I'm looking at right now from other parts of the country where they have enacted similar legislation. The copy that you have in front of you is a tested ordinance. This actually, in large measure, came from the city of Charlottesville, Virginia, which has a significant issue of public demonstrations that they deal with on a consistent basis. And so because of that, they've had a number of challenges to individual sections of their ordinance. And what you have in front of you are provisions that have been tested and has survived court challenge.
Is this something we really want to do? And why are we pursuing it?
Yeah, so we've had, and I don't know, Jared, how to predict where it may go, but we have been approached.
Yeah, I knew that.
And so we feel like that there's the likelihood that there will be more. Once a demonstration takes place, it's possible that there could be counter demonstrations that are scheduled after that. And so we feel like at some point, I'm going to lean on the sheriff to tell me what his assessment is, but we feel like at some point if we don't get out in front and try to put something in place, then we may have a number of requests that are put on us in rapid succession.
Why can't we just say, no, we don't do it on county facility?
We don't have an ordinance. We don't have anything.
Because it's public property.
Can we not?
And we're going to get sued 9 ways to Sunday if we don't have a regulation
Eventually, you're
in
going to find
place.
somebody you want to say no to, then you're going to say yes to somebody next
correct.
week, and then they're going to say,
We just got to cut and dry, say no to all. But you got to have an ordinance that says we don't do it. Do that. This is going to get.
Jared, it's the approach that we take. I'll give you an example. The approach that we take on our dangerous animals, the approach that the county takes, which I think is a wise and well-tested and effective way to do it. On our dangerous animals, we don't just outright ban them. We have a regulation that requires certain things to be done, and we make that the issue of compliance becomes the way that we control it. And to my way of thinking, that has kept us out of a lot of sticky litigation. So by just saying outright ban all demonstrations, we're on very shaky legal ground, in my opinion.
All right.
You have a question or a comment?
I just want to give you an example of why we need this. If somebody wanted to have let's say we arrested somebody and they were having a trial day and everything, and there was a protest out there and there was no permit, we couldn't stop from doing it. Well, all these people come in for jury duty. They come in through the front door of the courthouse.
Mhm.
Well, that whole jury pool has been tainted. They got to send them back home and get some more. So look at the money that costs the county. All we want to do is tell them, hey, you can do it on this day, at this time. We're not trying to keep anybody, we want to have the free speech, but we just don't want to cost the county money and be a security issue for us.
Coordinated.
Well, a day like today wouldn't be, with all the parking's, where would they be anyway?
We'll do our best to accommodate them.
Yeah.
They can park over at Ramey's and still create a problem over here.
Right.
That's part of when I tell you that we will have an application process, that's one of the questions that will be asked of the sponsor. Where do you intend to park folks who show up?
Well, if they don't have an application, then we have a way to,
Yes, sir.
Back another date when you do it.
Yes, sir. If you adopt the
permit.
ordinance, Jared, one of the prohibitions will be conducting an event or demonstration without a permit. That's a violation. So if they show up in mass, the sheriff's first question will be, where's your demonstration permit? We don't have one. Didn't know we needed one. Okay, you need to go see the county administrator, and all you need to disperse.
Yeah.
So that's how that would be handled. If you don't have an ordinance and they show up, like the sheriff said, you're just dealing with the repercussions of it. You won't prevent the demonstration.
Okay.
I think Mr. Bishop had made the motion to approve. I second.
I got one little piece of, I want to make sure we write it loose enough, though, that if a group of college kids or even people that's whatever want to get out here somewhere, even if it's at our multipurpose building, and have a friendly game of flag football, that they don't have to get a permit, because they're not demonstrating, they don't have any issue, they just, and like on Sundays or during the week, there's people that use that facility over there for different things, especially with their horses.
The other thing is like, I know 2 times Brandon High School used to park them out for a pep rally.
Yeah.
Things like that.
So on section 6, and I would encourage you to look at this, the last page, events for which no permit is required. I came up with 2 out of my head. Any event sponsored by Rankin County or any department thereof or entities affiliated with Rankin County. I was thinking like a Rankin First or somebody that's connected to the county like that, the health department. Or events sponsored by any municipality. Yeah, so in my opinion, an event sponsored by a Rankin County school, a school located in Rankin County, that should be number C.
It need to be a school in Rankin County.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we would add that. And this is not the end of the line. As we adopt this ordinance, I dare say that at some point we will probably encounter situations where we may need to tweak it after it's in place. We may need to add to the exemption list. I would counsel us to be pretty careful about that. We want to make sure that our exemptions don't appear to be favoritism for any particular manner of speech, if that makes sense. We'll have to be careful about that.
And it is clear that this is for Rankin County properties. We're not telling somebody you can't meet on your own property or whatever.
That's right.
Or churches or what.
Right.
Only applies to
our
property owned or controlled by Rankin County.
All right, we have a motion by Jay, a second by Jared. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, this is item G. You've already heard this morning from Mr. Clark about the issues that they're having over in South Delta, that whole area there essentially from Cape Girardeau all the way to the coast is a significant issue, and it's affecting at least some small part of what the county is doing. Our supplier under our semi-annual commodity, or our annual bid contract, Warren Paving, they are not able to secure the number 89 limestone because the barge can't get to the dock in Vicksburg. And so we are authorizing by this action the purchasing clerk to secure 2 quotes from vendors who are able to supply number 89 limestone, and I would amend that to say, or utilize a contractor who is cleared under state contract. Right, Bridget? Yes. So I would ask that we amend the motion to include utilization of a contractor that's on state contract to provide this. So that's what you're authorizing right there.
So moved.
Yep, second.
All right, we have a motion by Jay, second by Daniel. Any other discussion?
I just have one question. So you're not worried about the 50,000, Bridget?
You don't have to. We are authorized to use state contract. The main thing is if we have term bids in place, we are required to use those for one state contract. And this just allows us to do this until the river goes down and the barges start. So Mike and I found on state contract, there's some vendors that we can use that get the limestone in by rail, and that's what we'll be using until. We will not be canceling the purchase orders that are outstanding. The vendor thought we would probably get it next week, but obviously it's gonna be knocked out another
Yeah.
thing. So we'll keep those open and go back to our term bids as soon as we're able to utilize them.
So we're not worried about the 50,000?
When you use state contract, we don't have to.
All right.
All right, we have a motion.
Second?
Yeah.
Bob,
Yeah, I thought we had
second.
one, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item H is the resolution that authorizes the sale and issuance of the bonds that was already approved by this board. This is the resolution to actually authorize the sale and issuance of the bonds in an amount not to exceed $28 million for the purposes that you see set out right there in that resolution that's on your agenda that I encourage you to look at. Make sure you're satisfied with it.
So is this including the issuance cost?
Bond counsel, help me out with that. Does that include the issuance costs?
Yeah, the issuance cost is paid from the phone, but,
Yeah.
And like you said before, there will be a premium.
That's right.
In addition to the phone.
So I don't want to put them in a bind, but my suspicion is that the premium amount is going to exceed the issuance cost? Yes. That's the expectation. Y'all heard that?
Our intent was to basically get a bond for 27.2 and then let the issuance cost be to the 28. But
So I don't think that's exactly how we understood it. It was 20, not to exceed 28, right? Issue the 28.
I don't know if I could be any clearer that day. I thought I was pretty clear about it, but
I really thought it was just the 28. I thought that's what I heard.
y'all need to go back and watch the film then, because I'm positive that's exactly what I said. But anyway, we'll move on.
This on the first or the last meeting? Oh, and here's the reason I'm asking.
Yeah, that was the discussion we had before.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Bob to approve, second by Jay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. President, item I is, by virtue of state law, this board does not have the authority to void a tax sale once the actual tax sale has matured. So what you're doing today is acknowledging receipt of a Chancery Court order that has been received that voids the 2015 tax sale and authorize the refund to the tax sale purchaser of $150.34. So you can see that there, where this action is being ordered by the Chancery Court.
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Bob, second by Daniel. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I figure this next topic will probably take at least an hour of discussion. Y'all won't go. Get a cup of coffee. You want one, Craig?
Please, yes, sir, thank you.
Once Jay gets a hold of it, we'll be
Nope.
doing well.
I'm going to just move on.
Are you
Nothing
really?
I can do. They went went up last year too. I don't know if y'all remember that or not, but
What happens if we don't go up?
if we don't approve, we just have
Lose
to
the
pay
service?
hourly. We'd have to pay hourly for their services.
And it goes up anyway?
Yeah. I mean,
Goes up either
So
way.
what's our
pay
option?
with their hourly.
Well, that was kind of what we discussed last year. I don't know that we ever found an option.
I know.
No, I think even y'all had.
The only option truly
Let's get away from it.
Either way you go.
Get away from it. That's the only option.
If I remember
Overbarrel.
right, Jay, didn't you have Laura call them and?
Oh,
try to-
they didn't, do anything, so.
But she
they know
did, but
they
we
got-
did make that effort, I know.
They have all the business and no worries.
Well, I
Motion
mean,
to
so
approve.
we don't have much choice, I guess what I'm saying, do we?
Well, we actually do. Like I said, we can not do it and just pay hourly.
But I
Whenever
mean-
we have to actually use their services, we can pay for it.
What would that be?
Well, what we asked last time, and then provide us with how many calls we get them annually, and that never happened. They never sent it, so.
So I guess what I'm saying, I mean, I'm up, hoping for something.
You know, and just,
I mean, I agree with you, but I don't know what the option would be, other than don't pay it, then do the hourly, but we don't know what that'd be. We can save, I'm all for that.
Where's Marcus?
I mean.
He's ducking down back there.
Hiding
He's
behind
hiding behind Mike.
Tell us your thoughts, Marcus.
Marcus, right here in a moment.
Yep, you gotta come out of your hide.
We want it on record.
Try to migrate to if you try to migrate to a different system, you're gonna pay a whole lot more than your yearly maintenance cost, annual maintenance cost to migrate to it. You're also gonna lose, your support and monitoring and backup. There's a lot that you would lose out of this if you're not doing maintenance. It's worth it. We spend a lot of money on maintenance for software systems, and it's generally worth it.
All right.
There we go.
Okay.
Second Bob's motion.
That's pretty cut and dry.
You made a motion, did you, Bob?
I did.
Second Bob's.
All right, we've got a motion by Bob, second by Daniel. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Reckon who that might be. Nay.
I can tell you, I can't work on a
You don't have a
computer, so I
choice.
don't need them calling me.
Captive audience.
I'll roll with Marcus. Marcus says we got no choice, we got no choice.
All right,
All right,
let's move on.
Wanda?
Next item. Item B, new Rankin County Courthouse Facilities, approval of pay application number 24 to Chris Albritton Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $803,678.91 and authority to issue the check.
I want to give them an additional 45 days. Can we do that? Just add to it?
Where's the date?
Yeah, let's
I didn't see the date.
add that to my
Rain
thing.
some,
Add them
45.
45 days, huh?
Give them
Motion to
45 days before we
approve.
pay it.
Yeah.
I had 45 days when we pay it.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Bob, second by Jay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We got additional business to be discussed with Mr. Freddie Harrell and Mike Smith.
It's like Freddie dodged out on Mike, so the pressure's all on him to perform. That's typical for Freddie now, isn't it? I don't know how I come give you a little pep talk and then,
Made it
got
round.
something coming up, got to
Made the
go.
rounds and slipped out the door.
You beat up on me.
Y'all have a handout for Mr. Smith has made some changes from the additional one that he sent, so I'm gonna give you a new one.
Thank you.
Malcolm, did you come with some money? Good.
Can we set that over here, make it where the board, other people can see it?
Gentlemen, I thank you for the opportunity to meet with you this morning. We want to wait for Mr. Cross to get back.
Sure, we'll wait for both
Yeah,
of them to
please.
come back. They should be back momentarily. Ma'am?
I'll do both ways at the same time.
We're just about done, so.
Ma'am?
Well, my area sure is junky.
All right, Mike, I think you're good to go.
Just kind of all collapsed on us.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here to meet with you today. Mr. Harold apologized, but he had a conflicting meeting and he had to go to that. As you recall, the Richland Creek Watershed District reported to you several months ago that we had been approved for some funding from the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service for work on the Richland Creek watershed. That is to do some master planning on it to increase the scope of work that can be performed under the government program, and to also provide the definition of additional improvements that are needed. I provided you with an overview and some background information on it, so I won't go into that in detail, but just to say, the Richland Creek watershed was created in 1961, and it was based, the whole program was based upon flood protection for agricultural lands. So for all the years that we've been making improvements on the Richland Creek watershed, the taxation for that has actually been paid for by the farmers that had cropland within the quote watershed area. Recently, the USDA has expanded the scope of funding that they can provide for stormwater drainage and flood protection, and all these services are provided through the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Last September, you'll recall, we submitted an application for funding to make further improvements on the existing watershed district. And almost a couple of months ago now, we were advised that we have been approved for funding under this year's budget for a upgrade of our master plan that will allow us to incorporate the municipal areas which were excluded from the original plan. So this will be a tremendous benefit to all of the municipalities within the county. Presently, we are working with the NRCS and the Mississippi Soil and Water Commission to start work on a master plan to expand the scope of services. And we anticipate it will take approximately 6 months to finish that plan. At that time, we'll bring it back to you for your review and comment before we go in to do any final adoption of the plan. The scope of work that we identified in the application last year requested an allocation of $46 million for work on the existing watershed district. Now, those funds have not been approved, but they are in line to be funded, according to Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, and we will expect to start receiving funds as soon as the 2020 budget is approved, and we have completed our master plan. So that's where we stand today. The big benefit of the improvements is that we will be allowed to go, the plan will allow us to go into the incorporated areas, all areas of the municipalities, and start providing primary drainage that will benefit the development of areas and also the flood protection for the people that are and businesses that are already there. So right now, what we are asking is to be for additional funding, or authorization for additional funding to match funds that we will get through the USDA within the next 3 to 5 years. It won't all come as one lump. We couldn't even do it if we had it all at one lump. So what we're asking for is to be considered for funding over for a 3 to 5 year period. We haven't presented all the details of that to you, and I won't go into those today, but we would like the opportunity to meet with the board and discuss what our plans are. I think when you stop and think that all of the improvements we've incorporated today have been paid for by the people that were farming or owned farmlands, and that's not very many acres, but that revenue from those sources were able to pay for all these improvements over the years. With interest rates as low as they are right now, we feel confident we can put together a very economical plan that will allow us to greatly expand the services and the protection. And so I'm here to just sort of fill you in what we'll be presenting to the board in the budget request and to answer any questions you might have about the information that we've already provided you.
So the cream color there, Mike, that is the actual ditch, or is that part of the?
Well, all of this colored area here is the watershed district as it was defined at that time.
Name some of the areas, so I'm not familiar with exactly where.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's sort of far away. Okay, here is Highway 49.
Okay.
This is you're in the Pearl area here, and then this goes on up into Brandon, going into Brandon, and then out. It actually goes. The drainage district actually goes above I-20, north of I-20, but it wasn't included in the original plan because it wasn't done at that time. But under the new plan, we'll be able to take in practically all of the area of Pearl that lies, the drainage that lies south, that flows south, and all of that in Brandon. I mean, there's a good bit of Brandon that's actually north of I-20 and 80 that flow back into Richmond Creek, and then, as I said, Richmond Creek comes way around here and crosses over 20, and we'll be able to provide more improvements up in that area too.
Now, I appreciate you getting involved. I know Freddie said you decided to kind of help out here and got on you on the board now. Did the Chancery Judge put you on the board?
Yes, I'm a commissioner.
Good. We're glad to have you, and glad you're part of that I won't say problem, but project.
Solution. Say solution.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but the thing is, we have never had an opportunity to get the kind of funding we're talking about from the federal government. We haven't had any federal government other than assistance from engineering staff and so forth through NRCS and USDA. That's all the assistance we've gotten in the past. So we got this $1.5 million that's already freed up for the master plan. And like I said, as soon as we get that done, we anticipate we'll be able to get other funds released.
Good deal. We appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She didn't say.
Anything else? Mr. President?
Malcolm, you have anything to add?
No, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I apologize for not introducing Mr. Love.
It probably worked out pretty good if Freddie wouldn't.
He's keep coordinated.
He needs no introduction in here. All right, let's see. Do we have a need?
Any other additional business?
I see lawyers all over the back.
I have one thing I'd like to ask since we're here.
Well, one, I need to do something about Vernon Jones Road. It's flooded right now. But, Oak Grove Barnett Bend subdivision. Going to the back, they have what, the newer section is called Barnett Bend North. And as you go into it, there's two brick pillars. On the left-hand side of the road, there's a fence that goes all the way to the brick column, but it's very dangerous, and actually the fence fell in, and the gentleman needs to replace it, but he don't want to put back a full 6-foot fence because he needs to be able to see oncoming traffic. I want to tear down that brick column so the gentleman could go in and put in just a 3-foot fence, just to the end of his property. Can we do that?
Column is
Is it on right of way?
It is.
How did it get there?
If it's on right
It was
of way-
installed by the developer.
That's right. If it's on right of way, if it's on our right of way, and it's a public safety issue,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Okay.
we can remove that.
What do we need to do to make that happen?
Tell your road manager to go take.
That's
it.
all we got to do? Okay.
I would like us to absolutely confirm that it is in fact in county right of way.
Yeah, I hate to have to build it back.
Well, it's right beside the road.
Okay?
How far over do we have right away?
It's a good question, depends on the road itself.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a platted subdivision, that would be delineated on the plat. So we can probably check the plat.
You know what I'm talking about, Mike?
Yeah, where the brick columns are,
Yeah. Is that in the right of way?
I'm gonna say the brick columns are,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's probably 50 or 60.
I just want to take down one.
One column?
Yeah. Leave the other one, it's fine. It's the other side of the road. And
Well, the subdivision will probably be mad at you if you don't have but one brick column up, leave the other one up, yeah.
But if we go
They'll
tear
say
down the other one,
aesthetically it won't
I
work.
know, but we tear down the other one, we're gonna create a problem. Cause their
I say
fence
tear
is
them both
nice.
down if you're gonna tear them down.
Yeah.
I say get them
What
both.
problem you gonna create?
Well, the other side of the road, they're able to get out because the oncoming traffic they can see.
So they're gonna like the column. You think they are?
Yes, they're not wanting, it's
I
gonna
don't worry
make their
about it.
yard look like
Let's take
crap.
the one down. Let's take the one down. If they fuss about it, we take the other one down.
Yeah. I know it's not aesthetically correct. I'm just trying to come up with a solution.
He can't see out because the column's in his way.
Yeah.
We can also take out whatever is in the right of way as well.
Hang on. We're cleaning the house today.
Yeah, well, the fence is not, it's,
That's
on
his
the other
deal.
side.
Let's
but-
let him
Leave
do
it
it.
close.
Yeah, he's,
We were doing a favor, get that down, and then do his own
Yeah.
fence, yeah.
right.
Well, now you mention that. Gee, thanks, Trent. Yeah, this year, if you could say that before I crumble them all up.
All right.
I don't have anything else.
I don't have.
Don't either. Okay.
Can y'all give me literally a 1-minute executive session?
Sure.
Discuss it.
There's
I knew if we
no way
waited,
you
I
can
knew
do
if we
60
waited,
seconds.
you'd find a
Ain't no way.
reason.
I promise.
1 minute.
I make a motion to
Wow.
go into discussion the need
Oh,
for executive
It'll
session.
take us longer to go into executive session than where it's gonna last.
Put the
Yeah.
time limit on.
We have a
1 minute
motion,
executive session.
motion by Bob going into executive session, or discuss the need to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Jared seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Make a motion to go into the discussion litigation. Is that correct, Mr. Slay?
Yes, sir, please.
All right, we have a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation. Have a second?
Yeah.
Daniel, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are going into executive session. Everybody clear the room. Cut the recording.
We are
Say it where
in.
they can hear
Might
you.
work.
Camera's still on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Hey, this
well, I
is
promise you, that's exactly what I said.
How's it going?
Hey, Trey. How are you, sir? Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I got that. Me and Joe Simons or whatever about, Joe told me we were going. Good to see you, man.
Just a little indictment.
I called you Friday, you was busy.
Has the Bucket Group come pick up their check yet for the 10,000?
Fire chief.
What did we tell him?